Netflix and Sony are in a serious, committed relationship. We get the release date and a look at the characters in Neo, The World Ends With You. And I've got some thoughts on the latest episodes of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier and Invincible. All that and the latest and everything cool today in The Rundown. Hey, welcome to The Rundown, everybody. I hope you have had a fantastic week. This is all about wrapping up a week and having a great weekend, right? Happy Friday to everybody out there. We've got an awesome show filled with lots of interesting things to talk about. But first, we got to dedicate this one, right? We're going to give it out to Hi There, who's back again, first in line and first into the room. He says, I'm here. And Mr. Mass Produce is there as well. I see him often as we do these Rundown Lives. And that's a reminder, by the way, if you ever want to come and join a live version of the Rundown, please do. It's a lot of fun, and the people that watch this show are incredible. All right, let's get started, and we are going to be talking about some big news that's been happening in Hollywood. Netflix and Sony have entered into a new multi-year agreement to bring Sony's theatrical movies to the streaming platform for exclusive runs. Sony's prepping big releases like Uncharted and sequels to Spider-Man. They've got Bad Boys and, of course, Jumanji and Venom for this partnership, so there's some really, really big films attached to this deal, which is obviously going to mean some pretty big things for Netflix. Netflix is being just surrounded by all kinds of incredible players out there. They've got Paramount Plus, they've got HBO Max, and of course the biggie is Disney Plus right now. So they are seeing all kinds of competition for your subscription dollars. So this is a pretty big deal. We can already see that movies like Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse are under this relationship, but the follow-up to that film and other animated movies will also be a part of this arrangement. Sony was working with Starz for a long time as a provider, as sort of like this third window provider. After their movies had hit the theaters and then had gone to home video, they were able to get them out onto Starz, and then they would play them. But now that's all going to shift to Netflix. And of course, the deal is going to mean that it's going to be the home for big movies like Venom, the sequel to Venom, and we're going to see new franchises that they hope will come to play, like Uncharted. They don't know if Uncharted is going to work, but this is going to be the home where people are going to be able to watch it in its sort of streaming showcase. And no word yet on whether Ghostbusters is going to be a part of that. We got a little taste of the new Ghostbusters movie yesterday, but presumably this is going to be a big deal, and this is going to be good for Netflix. And the presumption here is that Netflix came with a whole wad of cash to make this deal happen. There are reports that they came with a $1 billion upfront payment. And, presumably there are more payments afterwards, but they've got this locked down for a long time. And it got me thinking, like, what does Disney think about Netflix running their Spider-Man movies? I mean, they don't own the movies. Sony has the rights to make these movies, and they have the distribution rights and the production rights, and everybody's in partnership right now. But that's their beloved Marvel character, and it's going to be on the competing platform. It's a pretty interesting deal, it's going to be interesting to see how this kind of moves forward, because my prediction is that Disney probably said, okay, well, Sony, you can work out and carve out all kinds of deals for your movies wherever you want to, but let's figure out a way to get Spider-Man onto Disney Plus. But it does, and the Spider-Man verse, like Venom and the animated movies and stuff, but it doesn't look like that's going to be happening. So very interesting development. We also have a very interesting development that's happening on the Nintendo Switch and the PlayStation 4. The sequel to The World Ends With You, a 2007 DS game, is coming up this year for the PlayStation 4 and the Nintendo Switch platforms. It's called Neo, The World Ends With You, and it's going to hit the Switch and PS4 on July 27th. The whole idea with this game is that it's kind of a modern setting, and you play a character named Rindo, and you hook up with a bunch of other people as part of this, kind of like a gang. They're like a street group. I guess Square Enix doesn't want to really call it a gang, but you fight all kinds of monsters and you fight other kinds of gang members, but it's all kind of modernized with interesting pickups. You know, you've got threads and you've got pins that you can apply onto other characters that you can actually take control of, and then you get into these action RPG battles, but it's all set in modern-day Tokyo in the Shibuya district. There's a lot of, branded storefronts and things like that are actually in the real world applied into this game. There's a huge anime series attached to The World Ends With You, and I have to be honest, I haven't played this game in years since it originally came out on the Nintendo DS. I know that there is a mobile version of The World Ends With You. I know that there is a massive, massive fan base, and people have been incredibly patient for this game to come out. It's finally coming out, and today we got a little taste of some new content. We got some of the voice actors, like Paul Castro Jr. is going to be in there. Griffin Burns is going to play Fret. We got to see some of the other characters like Nagi and I can't even pronounce that. And they're part of the Wicked Twisters, which is the group that they're fighting with, and they've got enemies and other gangs and other types of characters. But we're getting a really good sense of the depth of the types of characters that you're going to meet and get into conflict with. And there's also this really, I think, really beautiful sort of living comic book aesthetic that you're going, like an animated comic book that's sort of telling the tale as well. Not only do you have this cool, it's not quite huge, vast open world Tokyo, but you get huge sections of Shibuya to run around in, but you also get this really great storytelling in here. Neo, The World Ends With You comes out on July 27th. Now, for this next story, you'll have to notice how big my smile is. Today, we got some news. Well, first of all, we know the release date, July 29th, 2022. It's going to be a theatrical release. Harrison Ford is coming back, but Phoebe Waller-Bridge is going to join the cast, and John Williams is going to be doing the music for the next Indiana Jones movie. And if you guys know me, you know what a massive indie fan I am. I'm incredibly excited that there's a new Indiana Jones game coming up from Lucasfilm Games and Bethesda and Machine Games. I can't wait for that. I can't believe Todd Howard is on that. And, indie, I know there's a lot of detractors of the last Indiana Jones movie, and it's not the best one in the series for sure, but I thought Harrison Ford was still great in it, and there were lots of really cool sequences. I'm just excited to see what happens. James Mangold is directing this one. He directed Logan and Ford vs. Ferrari, and he said, "I'm thrilled to be starting a new adventure collaborating with the dream team of all-time great filmmakers. Stephen, Harrison, Kathy, Frank, and John are all artistic heroes of mine. When you add Phoebe, a dazzling actor, brilliant creative voice, and the chemistry she will undoubtedly bring to our set, I can't help but feel as lucky as Indiana Jones himself." I am feeling lucky that we're getting more Indiana Jones. I know people are all down on the idea of this older Harrison Ford throwing the punches and doing the swings, but the guy is a legend. And I love this character, and it's going to be very interesting to see what a smart filmmaker like James Mangold can do with Indiana Jones. Let's be honest, he completely crushed it with Logan and surprised everybody. That was an amazing movie, so I can't wait to see what James Mangold does there. All right, I've got a couple quick other things to talk about, but they're spoilery, conversational about Invincible and the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Let's get started with Invincible. This was a pretty fantastic episode that happened today. It was episode 5 of this first season. We got reintroduced to Titan, who's played by Mahershala Ali, and he's kind of a Luke Cage character that's been hired to do some nefarious things by this guy named Machine Head, who's kind of like a kingpin type crime boss, and he sends him out to do all kinds of crime for him. Eventually, he connects with Invincible, and they come up with a plan to take down Machine Head, but holy crap, all kinds of things go wrong with that plan. And honestly, when I was watching the sequence, and I'm sorry if I'm spoiling this for anybody, but when I was watching the sequence in this episode, I had a hard time thinking of a more epic fight sequence I've ever seen in animation. It was unreal because there are all of these different characters with really cool powers. Invincible is very, very strong. He comes up against this enormous bad guy named Battle Beast. And I have to be honest, I haven't gotten that far in the Invincible comics, so I didn't really know who Battle Beast was, but he's just brutal in this show. And what's interesting about Invincible is that nobody is exactly who they seem. There are all kinds of layers. There's all kinds of betrayal and things going on behind the scenes. But the fight sequence in this episode is just. It's outstanding. It's incredibly well orchestrated. You see the global guardians, or the guardians of the globe. They just get trounced by. There's Battle Beast right there. They get trounced by these villains for hire that Machine Head has brought in, and we see blood splatter, and people just get gutted and crushed and mutilated, and it's horrifying. It was incredibly well orchestrated and super compelling. And we are starting to get layers of humanity. We're also starting to understand the sort of power of the government forces behind the Grayson family and all of the other superheroes as well. There is this ability to kind of bring characters back to life. And people are starting to show some shades of truth, but it's incredibly duplicitous and sneaky, and it's like layers of an onion. Every episode we're getting a little bit more. I remain completely envious of everybody that doesn't know anything about Invincible and is just watching this for the first time, probably watching it a lot like this, just shocked by what's in the show. But it is an incredible show, and this was a terrific episode. I really had a great time. Over in the world of the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I have to applaud Marvel because they did something incredible this week. I don't know if you guys caught this, but Baron Zemo danced in the last episode, and so what Marvel Entertainment did is they posted a YouTube video of Zemo dancing for an hour. It's already, at the time that I copied this little video clip here, was over 2.5 million views of this, and it's unbelievable. This is Daniel Bruhl, who just sells it. He's just terrific in this role, and he's great in this new episode as well. This was also a shocking episode of superhero television today with the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I think I got up out of my seat and went, oh my God, because we really got a sense of who this new John Walker guy is. We also got a sense of who some of the characters in the Flag Smashers are. There is this sympathetic kind of overtone. There's an empathetic kind of ability that Anthony Mackie's Sam Wilson has, which I really enjoyed watching. Didn't really get to know too much more about Sharon Carter's subplot with the power broker, but I think a big emphasis was on how John Walker is just crumbling and falling apart. He's got this real jealousy of anybody that's been injected by the super soldier serum, so you can kind of guess what's going to happen in the show. And indeed, it does happen. And I think my only kind of complaint about Walker injecting himself with the superhero serum is that it all happens off screen, and it just sort of happens, and he's got the powers and the abilities. We don't see the physical interaction with what that does to him, and we don't see any changes in his body or anything, but it does sort of amplify his darkest desires, and something awful happens to his partner Battlestar, and it just sets him off, and then he goes off and chases a Flag Smasher. And the show ends with something, one of the most horrifying images that I've seen in any of the MCU properties so far, any of the movies or the television. It's incredibly violent and visceral. I guess some of the stuff that Thanos did was sort of similar to this, but it was just a shock to see Captain America go off on a villain. And the end shot is Cap's shield just covered in blood. And everybody has been surrounding, looking at this image, this super heroic image of what America is supposed to stand for and what superheroes are supposed to stand for, just destroying another person. And then it's just covered in blood, and you can just see the hatred in his face and the fury. And it's going to be crazy to see where they go from here. But we've seen a lot of shots and images in the trailers of both the Falcon and the Winter Soldier hurling Captain America's shield. So I expect that there's going to be a pretty epic confrontation. I love this episode. It's a little choppy. It's maybe not as tightly packaged and paced as as we've come to expect from things like the Captain America movies, but it's really damn good. I mean, you do have to factor in that it's a television show, and they can't just throw in all of the big budget Hollywood movie actors into the show because it would just crush the budget. Whatever they're playing with, they're doing a great job. And I can't wait to see how this all escalates. And comes to its epic conclusion. But everybody is doing really, really good work in this show. Let me know what you guys think. Are you watching Invincible? Are you watching The Falcon and the Winter Soldier? What do you think so far? Let me know in the comments below. That's going to do it for the rundown today, but I'm going to be back again on Monday with a fresh episode for you, so please come back for that one. Have yourselves a fantastic weekend. I hope I didn't spoil. I gave you warnings. I hope I didn't spoil Falcon, and I hope I didn't spoil Invincible. But we will see you on Monday. Have a great weekend, everybody. Until then, play forever.